Hi there, it's Ian here, and you're watching Grumpy Opinions, the show where I'm going to tell you all about what I think of films, TV shows, games, and life in general. Let's get on with the show. Star Trek Discovery is a show on CBS that's about Star Trek folk and things and stuff. Episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow, starts up with Sarek and Amanda hanging out on a beach, and he's gone back to his old ways of meditating, and she brings him like a plate of smoky fajitas or something. And then he's like, Anyway, back on the Discovery, they've met up with the Enterprise, and they're all like decanting folk across wee umbilical corridors, and everyone's packing up the stuff, and Michael does a wee grab of the time stone and gets like flashes of the future. Okay. And anyway, folk are sad to go, but still Pike seems awfully chuffed to be back on the 1701, and it actually looks pretty cool. And after that, it's like a reunion of the strong female side characters. Because like the Admiral, Number One, and Giorgio all pop up on the bridge, and then it's boom time. Only there's no boom. No boom boom. The big sphere data merged with the ship, and apparently it's somehow stopping it being destroyed. That makes sense. Anyway, Mike has a flash forward of Leland taking over Discovery and killing everyone. Yep, everyone, even her. And she knows that destroying the Discovery won't work. And she has a brainwave that actually they need to use the time stone to remove it entirely from that time period, which is basically what her mum said 2 weeks ago. Why didn't anyone think of that at the time? Anyway, they have a chat about it and of course work out that it must be Michael that is the Red Angel who set up the signals. Honestly, I was shocked. I was so shocked to hear this. Nobody thought about this. Anyway, they start looking for like supernova red giants to find the time crystal, and they realise that there's a planet where there's an old pal of Tilly is actually the queen and head scientist, which I'll get back to later. Anyway, so this wee Maori looking lassie comes on board, and like they have a big old room full of ladies science off where they realise they can do a bunch of like technobabble to make time travel work, but it's going to be a one-way trip for Michael, and it'll mean the spore drive's offline for 12 hours, right in the middle of when they need it for a fight. But anyway, they commit to it, and Poe says like she's staying on board. Yay. So Michael has like a sad farewell with everyone on the bridge, and then Sarek and Amanda pop up because it's clearly quicker to get there from Vulcan or whatever. Anyway, they do a sad parent thing, and then there's a hallway meeting where more people who are staying on board to fly the ship. I mean, there has to be, surely. And then after that, Tyler like pulls her away, but it's not for a quick bonk like you might think. It's actually to say that he's actually going to stay behind and fix Section 31 after she's gone, presumably because he wants to be on the spin-off show. And then it's time for more tearful goodbye letters from everyone to their families, and then Pike gets like his big bridge send off and says bye to everyone, and this is going on for about 10 minutes now. Seriously, can we get on with the episode? But in the last minute we hear that there's like a problem with the power thing, and for reasons no one actually wants to speak to Poe, like the Maori lassie. Instead it's like Jet, Stamets and Tilly, and Jet says she'll open it up and suffer the time visions that they know are going to bleed out, which they're only just mentioning now for the first time. And then, suddenly, boom, they're surrounded, and it's time for a fight. So it's time for roll credits. Big finale next week. So what did I think? Well, this week had the definite feel of that kind of like penultimate setup episode, which is, what it is. I mean, it's set there to tie up all the threads and the character stuff nicely so that the finale can be like action and high stakes, and presumably it will be. I mean, only it didn't really quite go that way in season 1, but, let's wait and see what they do with season 2. So this week had like quite a lot of nice wee moments, and it also tied into like something I didn't expect, the short treks. So let's talk about that for a minute. I've mentioned them now and again, but not really that actually covered them much, and I was going to maybe do a review episode separately, but I never got around to it. And at this point it doesn't really seem worth it. But anyway, if you watch the show on Netflix in the UK, you can find them in the trailers and other stuff bit, and I presume elsewhere you'll find it somewhere sensible. But basically, like it was 4 standalone short episodes, each one's about 10-15 minutes long. And basically, one of them was just a silly joke about Harry Mudd, so it isn't relevant, so we'll pass that by. The second one was all Saru's backstory, which was relevant earlier on in the season. One of them was about this girl called Poe, who's like a sort of super genius predator-like ice cream munching waif, all piercings and tattoos, but yeah, she's like some kind of like engineering super whiz kid. But she's also the queen of the planet, and she's also like, just really nice and everything, and 17 years old, and oh my god, the Tumblr of it all. Anyway, it turns out that like after Tilly being creeped out by her, she's actually kind of cool and pretty normal and super brainy and a teenager, and they get on really really well, and she really reminds me of someone from something else, because nothing's ever original on this show. Anyway, so she's basically Shuri from Black Panther, and that's fine. So she and Tilly get on well because of course they do, and her plant's full of dilithium like it says in the episode. And more interestingly though, is actually the 4th episode, which is called Calypso. Now, that was about a space dude who bumps into the long-abandoned starship Discovery, which is floating beside a planet, and he ends up getting saved by its sentient AI. And he has like a Wall-E-style friendship, romance with him, and it's all like 1,000 years in the future of the show. So, well, You work it out. I mean, between the sphere data that seems to be getting ever and more like an AI, and like the shape and the plan to put it into the future. So I think we know how it's going to turn out. Anyway, I'm kind of glad they tied this stuff in. It's interesting since, as far as I know, these were made after they made all the shenanigans with the new showrunners and new writers and everything like that. So presumably this was when they decided how the show was going to go. They would do these little bits to tie up some weird little holes that were in the plot and tried to fix things. But anyway, the episode itself, it had some good stuff. I mean, let's face it, seeing the Enterprise, actually inside the Enterprise and seeing it properly, that was pretty cool. I mean, I love how they did the old but new look of it. I mean, it was retro, but it was also slightly new and up to date. I mean, it was really nice to see it. It was good to see number one again, and it was good that we got some proper moments for the bridge crew on this episode again. Them getting writing their letters and having a bit of a say and everything and tearful. It's nice that we're starting to feel like again that this show has a bridge crew and it has regular characters more than just the main couple. We'll actually get the feeling of it. I mean, it's a bit like, as I've said a few times, like the Orville manages to make you care about the whole bridge crew, not just a couple of characters. And yeah, and I thought that all worked quite well. But mostly, I've got to say I had some issues. I mean, not so much with the plot because, as I said, week was a bit of a doggy paddle of an episode because I mean, it's just kind of treading water to keep itself up. But the actual minute writing on the show was pretty awful. I mean, terrible, terrible writing. And for a start, okay, let's start at the beginning. Right, the whole thing with them going to blow up the ship, that came out of nowhere last week, and with almost no discussion. Michael just says, right, we should do this, and everyone agrees. Everyone's just like, yeah, whatever, like I said last week. Now, it doesn't work, and Mike says, we should have known, and it's like, Hen, you were the one who said we should blow it up. It's like the show wants her to be right all the time and wants her to have the good ideas, even when those ideas contradict themselves. And it just comes across as really weird and kind of painful. And it's also like, it's inconsistent stuff. Like, Michael and Jet both touch the stone, but they only see flashes. But like Pike saw his whole future, explained to him in 2 seconds. I mean, why is it different for them? It's never explained. Is it because they're off the planet? Should that matter? Why is it that they're only getting the stuff later after a little bit of a focused burst of it, and then it sort of decodes in their mind, whereas he got it all at once. Also, right, the sphere data thing. This really bugs me because basically the sphere data is a sentient AI at this point, but no one wants to mention that because it's like that might mix things up with control. So even though it's really, really clear, as soon as the whole thing protected itself so they couldn't delete it, I was thinking, right, it's a sentient AI program. This data itself is sentient. And you're now talking about control, which is clearly a sentient AI. They keep saying needs to get this data to become sentient, even though it's basically already sentient. I mean, doesn't make any sense. It's like the people who wrote this didn't know what these terms actually meant. And it feels like the writers of the show are either too scared to confuse the audience because then they complicate it, or that they're just not very bright and they think what they're writing is really clever and that the viewers are just stupid and won't figure any of this out. But Star Trek is one of the shows that tends to draw people who like thinking about complicated plots and like thinking about sci-fi stuff because it's a sci-fi show. It always has been. And yes, some of it's been kind of stupid, but generally people on it tend to think. And almost any other show I can think of like this, they'd have made this connection, but they'd have tied it up in a little offhand comment in a clever way that makes you put a pin in it and stop thinking about it. In this one, they just mention things and then they forget, mention and forget, mention and forget, and then expects the audience just so when they bring it up later, they go, yeah, but we would have thought of that. And if anybody with any sense, and if we can think of that now with our modern day minds, how come these future space people can't think of this really basic stuff? There was also other little silly things like Sarek and Amanda coming out of nowhere to see Michael and managing to find them even though all the deep space communications aren't working, but they managed to home in on her chakra or something. And it was like, right, okay, when's that ever been a thing? And then presumably they're hanging around. I mean, because it never showed them leaving again. So what, are they going to hang around for the battle rather than zooming off to tell other starships to maybe go help in the big fight? I mean, does that mean all the subspace relays are all shut down for everyone so nobody can talk to each other? That seems a bit strange. Or is it just the Discovery? But if it isn't just the Discovery, all they need to do is get the Enterprise to send a message to someone saying, everybody meet here because we're about to have a massive battle. And, here's another thing. I'm calling it now. Ash is going to bring the Klingons to help next week. I feel like that's what he's going to do. That's what his comment at the end when he was on the transporter about having to go away and do something was.
Does that mean you trust me?
Why do you ask?
Because there's something I need to do. And he means leaving before any of this starts.
Another minor bugbear for me is the 17-year-old engineering whiz kid, the one who's like Shuri from Black Panther with the ice cream fetish. Now, that's nothing against the actress, nothing against that thing. It's just that's a character archetype I don't like. Like I didn't like it in Black Panther. I found her annoying. I don't like her in this. And Tilly was bad enough when it comes to like the flappy, daft, unprofessional, super brainy person who can't actually do anything and work in a sensible way. And it feels like these are like audience inserts for like daft teenagers who just want to be cool and not want to conform, but also want to be like the saviors of the story in Star Trek. It's bad writing and it's almost like bad fanfic writing. And that's why I don't read fanfic because I hate this kind of stuff. Anyway, Starfleet's never been about conforming. It's been about being safe and efficient in space, and the military side of it was just a convenient way to do that. They generally let people just do all their own stuff. But yeah, also there was another minor gripe. There was this moment.
Stuff.
I like you.
I like you too.
I like this one.
And this whole scene just felt like weird. Now here's the thing, right? It felt like a total love-in of let's get all of our strong female characters in the room at the same time so they can just sit and tell each other how awesome they are. It's like get on with saving the universe. Honestly, in fact, this whole episode was just everyone standing around when they're literally on the clock of doom, about to die, and yet folk are finding time to just meet up and stand around in convenient photo poses. Like, I mean, it just seems so ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, it's a TV show, but come on, this never happened on Battlestar Galactica. No, still, anyway, finale next week, so everything's still to hold out for. My predictions are the ship will go away, Michael will undo the universe timeline and remove herself from it by maybe saving her parents from the Klingons, and somehow that's going to fix it all, since her future showed that they couldn't beat Leyland. So the way that show's going to do that is by fixing the timeline, she'll go back earlier and pull like a wishmaster to basically undo everything that happens in it and also make sense of why she was never mentioned in the previous ones. I could be wrong, but I think that's how they will do it. That's how I would do it. That's how I would fix it all. But it's entirely likely that it won't. And in fact, the last 10-15 minutes of this episode of everyone saying bye to Michael will be a complete waste of time because she'll be back and she'll probably get made the captain of the ship, because why else would Saru not talk about being the captain of the ship and the captaincy? It's presumably so that they can put Michael on the bridge in the big chief seat role. That's what I'm saying. So until next week and the finale, I've been Ian, and these have definitely been my grumpy opinions.